I am so excited for this video because today I'm going to be dropping some major bombs on you all about what anxiety really is. So by the end of this video, you're going to have a much more clear understanding of why you might still be feeling stuck in the management of your own anxiety, especially if you've been going to therapy and doing all of the homework given to you and reading all of the books and still not getting to the place you would like to be. And B, I'm going to provide you with some major insight on how you can start taking action today on furthering your healing journey. Welcome to the channel, guys. I'm Dominique Woodward, a certified trauma-informed life coach. And if you are new here, welcome. I am so happy to have you. So in last week's video, I shared 5 of my top tips for becoming an even more powerful self-advocate when visiting your doctor. If you've not yet seen that video, I'll leave it here linked in the cards because I shared that a lot of my own healing journey and why I'm so passionate about talking about self-advocacy, and in today's video talking about the real cause of anxiety, is because these are things that I was challenged and faced head on with in the beginning of my health journey. And I know that there are so many of you out there that are feeling just as frustrated and overwhelmed as I was. So I real quick want to share with you my experience to the start of my healing journey as I was getting diagnosed with anxiety and also starting some form of a treatment plan, because this is where things completely changed for me and why I am bringing this video to you. Now, when doctors diagnosed me with anxiety disorder, I at the time had no symptoms of stress or overwhelming thoughts or of racing thoughts or excessive worry. I was actually hospitalized because my blood pressure and heart rate went soaring through the roof to the point where they were worried about me having a heart attack or a stroke. So needless to say, when the doctor came to me and told me that everything looked great, all of my blood work was fine, all of the levels were within normal limits, I was a young, healthy woman, and told me that I was simply having panic attacks and experiencing anxiety, that did not sit well with me because my first response was, I don't feel stressed. I don't feel overwhelmed. I'm not worrying about anything right now. Actually, I have a lot of great things happening in my life right now. Why all of a sudden, at the age of 28, would I be experiencing anxiety and panic attacks? If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen that I have made many posts recently about this topic. And by the way, if you have not yet joined me over there, I have the link down below because I would love to see you there. Now, one of the most common misconceptions that I hear and see when it comes to people speaking or sharing about anxiety, especially in the healing/trauma world on social media, is that anxiety is a diagnosis. I always recommend that anything that I share here is you take what works for you and you leave the rest. You're always going to find somebody with a different opinion and a different answer to things. And that is just how the world works, and it's absolutely okay. Now, the reason why this is a misconception is because when you go to visit your primary care physician or psychiatrist, psychologist to be diagnosed with a mental health disorder, they are following a manual called the DSM-5. And the problem with this diagnosis manual is that it's labeling symptoms as disorders. Now, this can be extremely validating for many people who have been suffering for years with symptoms that they just had no answer to. And so when you're finally being provided some sort of an answer and to realize that you weren't just imagining things gives great comfort to many people. So the real issue with this is that when you're diagnosed with anxiety, you're diagnosing a symptom of something bigger. It's not giving you an answer for what the root cause really is. Now, this is leading me into the good stuff, and I'm about to share with you what anxiety really is. So we know that anxiety is not a diagnosis, it is actually a symptom. And it's a symptom that is telling us something more is going on. Now, when we look at the whole person, it's not just our brains that are allowing us to live our lives and experience our environment and communicate and learn. 80% of our sensory information is running from our body to the brain, and only 20% is running from the brain to our body. And this is all via the vagus nerve, and it tells the brain what is going on in the body. So what does this even mean? It means that our mental health is greatly affected by the state of our nervous system, by the state of our body. So now that you have a better picture of just how powerful your body is in the role of your mental health, I want to take it another notch further and talk a little bit about how our emotions are stored within our body. So when we experience challenges or trauma in our childhood, and don't have a proper way of regulating to release and process our emotions, that energy becomes far too overwhelming for our minds to grasp. So it ends up getting pushed and stored within the body. And our body, our nervous system, is a memory bank of our past experiences. This is where we learn that touching a hot stove is gonna hurt us just after doing it one time. The body naturally holds on to these memories to protect us in the future. Now, of course, this is an extremely powerful protection mechanism. However, there is a balance that needs to be present. And so when we're lacking the ability to properly regulate our emotions within our body, then that puts us in a state of feeling unsafe, where being inside our bodies and listening to our bodies feels very unsafe. Therefore, we start to move into our minds. Now, our minds are meaning-making machines. So if we are trying to avoid processing the painful emotions that we're storing in our bodies, we're going to be bringing our focus more so into the mind. And the problem with this is because it's a meaning-making machine, the alarm and the anxiousness that is felt in your body is going to get into this vicious cycle within your mind of all of the worst case scenarios, all of the what ifs, and all of the excessive overthinking. And then this becomes a vicious cycle that frankly has no end until we address the root cause, which again is the emotions that are stored within our body. So when we begin to now view anxiety as not a diagnosis, but a symptom of actual alarm within your body that is calling to be addressed, this can give us a total shift in perspective and also a new view of what our bodies are capable of doing. That your body is actually doing exactly what it is meant to be doing. It's not broken. It doesn't need to be fixed. It is simply trying to protect you. Now, if you need even more convincing that anxiety is not all in our heads, that it is actually unresolved trauma within the body, I want you to visit the Anxiety MD on Instagram. Dr. Russell Kennedy has also recently put out a book called The Anxiety RX. I have read it, I have listened to it, I am in love with it, and I cannot express my gratitude from his view on anxiety because of the challenges that I have been through, and I'm sure there are many of you out there that are going through the same challenges and are simply just needing to be seen and heard. Now, how do we begin to process then these trapped emotions of unresolved childhood trauma that are creating this alarm in our bodies? Now, the key here is to remember that the reason why we often get stuck in overcoming anxiety is because we're not addressing the root cause. So in order to address the root cause of the emotions being stuck in your body, we need to pay attention and actually take the time to listen and check in with ourselves. Now, this is easier said than done because many of us have spent years, probably most of our lives, trying to avoid all of the nasty, painful emotions that we've just been hiding and stuffing down within our bodies. So I recommend that you learn to check in with your body during times of calm, when you're actually not feeling anxious or triggered. And the way you can do that is by simply sitting in a peaceful, quiet place. Maybe it's in your bathroom if you have kids and that's the only peaceful place you have. Somewhere where you don't have to worry about being distracted. And simply sitting with yourself and allowing yourself to get curious about what you're sensing in that posture. Maybe you're sensing the carpet underneath your feet or the firmness of the chair that you're sitting in. Maybe you're sensing the speed or depth of your breath. But by allowing yourself to come into your five senses, whether it's what you're seeing, feeling, smelling, touching, or tasting, brings you back into the present moment and what your body is sensing around you. And by doing this at a time where you're not feeling anxious or triggered is really important because we start to develop that baseline of what feeling safe in the body really is to us. If we're doing this during a time of feeling anxious, it can be just too challenging to sit still and to allow ourselves to feel into our bodies because this is a conditioned behavior that has been there for years. And its natural response is to avoid pain, to avoid the fear of being inside the body. Now, it only takes a couple of minutes a day to create this practice of checking in with yourself, to checking in with how your body is feeling. I like to set a timer for myself, and I have this timer go off randomly during the day where I will take 2 minutes out of my day to stop everything that I'm doing and to just simply sit and be with myself, to bring myself out of the anxious thoughts or just overthinking that might be going on and start to tap into my five senses. Again, going back to what are you feeling under your feet, on your chair, in the air? What are you smelling? What are you seeing? So practicing little by little of creating this sense of safety in your body is what starts to then level out this alarm that we've been carrying for so long. So bringing yourself back into this present moment, allowing the sensations in your body to be seen, to be heard, just like you would do with a young child who is fearful or has concerns. You want to be treating yourself the exact same way because after all, the overwhelming emotions and sensations that you're feeling within your body, within this alarm, is the unresolved trauma from childhood. And because our bodies store memories, that child is still within you and it still needs to be spoken to as you would any other child. Now, as I mentioned before, Dr. Russell Kennedy is my go-to resource for information on anxiety, like I have shared with you today. So if you are wanting to get even more information and more knowledge on this topic, please go follow him and check out his book. I will leave his information linked down below in the description. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because in next week's video, I'm going to be sharing with you even more ways you can begin to address the alarm in your body and finally heal from anxiety. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video, and as always, sending you so much healing love.